Hollywood has finally done something so shameless that even its most loyal defenders are stunned into silence. Saturday Night Live, once promoted as a comedy landmark, actually prepared to ridicule a man who had just passed away. That's right, the death of Charlie Kirk has exposed the entertainment industry's darkest side. What we're seeing now isn't just partisanship or media bias. It's cruelty of the worst kind, normalized under the banner of humor. And before we unpack this disgrace, don't forget to hit subscribe because you will not hear this truth anywhere else. Charlie Kirk's passing has become a cultural test, a mirror revealing everyone's true character. For some, it has sparked unity and mourning, even among those who disagreed with him in life. They've taken the time to reflect on what his voice meant in the national conversation. But for others, the reaction has been appalling. Online trolls, political enemies, and smug commentators openly celebrated his death, posting vile comments as if cruelty were some badge of honor. And Hollywood, of course, couldn't resist piling on. Instead of silence or dignity, SNL decided it was prime time for mockery. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment joke tossed around in a writer's meeting. It was much worse. Reports revealed that SNL's team had been scripting, rehearsing, and developing a full sketch targeting Kirk. The plan was to portray him as a sexist, racist, and transphobe, Hollywood's overused playbook for demonizing anyone outside their political bubble. And all of this was scheduled to air just days after his death, when emotions were raw and families were grieving. Imagine that level of disregard. Mocking someone while their loved ones are still processing the loss isn't comedy. It's heartless cruelty disguised as satire. Now picture the situation flipped. Suppose a public figure admired by the political left died unexpectedly, and within the week, a comedy show mocked them on national television. Social media would explode in outrage. Headlines would condemn it as cruel, inhumane, and unacceptable. Hollywood elites would demand apologies, firings, and boycotts. But because Charlie Kirk was on the wrong side of their political line, suddenly ridicule becomes satire. Suddenly, mocking death is bravery. That double standard says everything about how corrupted and hypocritical the entertainment industry has become. They don't care about fairness, only about advancing their agenda. Here's the twist that says it all. NBC's own board of directors intervened to stop the segment. And it wasn't out of morality or compassion. It was out of fear. Fear of lawsuits, fear of backlash, fear of further damaging their already crumbling reputation. Even then, Lorne Michaels, the longtime producer of SNL, reportedly pushed to air the sketch anyway. Think about that. The man in charge of what used to be America's comedy stage wanted to go through with mocking a dead man despite warnings. That's not just poor judgment, that's cruelty turned into institutional policy. This entire scandal is a perfect metaphor for what SNL has become. Once regarded as a cultural powerhouse, the show hasn't been truly funny in decades. Instead, it's been living off recycled political jokes, predictable skits, and one-sided ridicule masquerading as humor. By the early 2000s, SNL had already begun losing relevance, and by the 2000s, it was little more than a propaganda machine. Remember when Tom Hanks appeared in that infamous sketch mocking Trump supporters? Instead of landing laughs, it alienated millions. For many, that was the final straw. And now, mocking the dead was their next bright idea. The insanity doesn't end there. NBC executives reportedly had to threaten their own writers and cast members with termination if they refused to cancel the skit. Imagine how dysfunctional a workplace must be when corporate bosses have to beg entertainers not to ridicule someone who just died. That level of moral decay is staggering. And yet, it tells us everything we need to know about modern Hollywood. Comedy is no longer about pushing creative boundaries or finding truth in humor. It has been reduced to a weapon, aimed only at political opponents, even when death should clearly be off limits. Even after canceling the original sketch, some NBC board members still considered running a watered-down parody of Kirk, as if softening the insults would make the cruelty acceptable. This reveals the mindset at play. Respect doesn't matter, decency doesn't matter, humanity doesn't matter. What matters is whether a person fits into their ideological framework. If you do, you're untouchable. If you don't, your dignity can be mocked in life and even stripped away in death. That isn't satire, it's a chilling reflection of how politics has completely swallowed up art, comedy, and basic respect for human beings. And SNL wasn't the only culprit. South Park, a show long known for controversy, had also prepared episodes mocking Kirk. But in the wake of his death, they began scrapping plans, deleting scripts, and canceling entire arcs. And let's be clear, it wasn't out of compassion either. It was pure public relations panic. Even a show built on shocking humor realized that targeting a man who had just passed away would backfire. The difference is, South Park has always branded itself as edgy. SNL, on the other hand, pretends to be cultural commentary, yet resisted dropping the segment until forced. The death of Charlie Kirk has already been described as a defining cultural moment for younger generations, a point in history people will remember as a turning shift. And what did Hollywood do in response? Instead of allowing time to grieve, instead of respecting a monumental event, they chose to dance on his grave. That choice tells us more than any press release or social media spin ever could. It reveals the true nature of an industry that pretends to value compassion while gleefully tearing down those it despises. The mask has slipped, and everyone can see it now. So the deeper question must be asked: what does this say about comedy itself? If mocking the dead has now become fair game, then where is the line? Comedy has always relied on pushing boundaries. Yes, but also on a shared sense of decency. The moment you strip away that foundation, you're left with something hollow. What was once a craft designed to make people laugh now looks more like propaganda designed to score cheap political points. Comedy isn't merely in decline, it's lifeless. Humor has been replaced by cruelty, dressed up as entertainment, and audiences feel the difference. And if death itself isn't off limits, then nothing is. Today, it's Charlie Kirk. Tomorrow, it could be anyone who dares to oppose Hollywood's ideological stance. That's why this matters. It's not just a sketch that went too far, it's evidence of a moral collapse that's been festering for years. If NBC executives hadn't stepped in, the skit would have aired, without hesitation, without shame. And it wouldn't have been canceled because it was wrong, but because they were terrified of how badly it might hurt them. That isn't responsibility. That's cowardice wrapped in corporate decision-making. The truth is, Hollywood's culture is so rotten that mocking the dead felt normal to them. Only the threat of consequences stopped them. That alone exposes the industry's core. They don't cancel things because of morality, they cancel because of optics. They don't pause for compassion, they pause when the lawsuits might arrive. And once people see this, they can't unsee it. Audiences across the nation now understand that what drives SNL and others isn't creativity, it's politics. Not humor, but manipulation. Not empathy, but ideology. And the public is finally waking up to that reality. Of course, this isn't the first time Hollywood crossed a line. Remember the Oscar scandals? When elite actors used the stage to attack one political side under the guise of entertainment? Remember late-night hosts who built entire brands on mocking conservatives while pretending to be fair? Remember when entire careers were destroyed over wrongthink because someone dared to disagree with the prevailing narrative? This pattern has been going on for decades. The only difference now is that it's so blatant, so shameless, that even corporate boards, usually eager to look progressive, are being forced to slam on the brakes. Hollywood can't be fixed from within anymore. The culture has been hijacked. Priorities have been twisted. Values, if you can even call them that, are hollow shells of what they once were. That's why mocking the dead seemed like just another skit. That's why they thought no one would care. That's why they assumed they could slip it onto national TV without consequences. But instead, they revealed themselves. The mask has slipped, and people see what's underneath. Audiences are realizing that this isn't comedy, it's cruelty. And they're starting to ask why they should keep supporting such an industry. And make no mistake, this outrage isn't going away. People are furious because mocking the dead crosses a line that is deeper than politics. It cuts into basic humanity. It offends universal values of respect and decency. When an industry cannot even show restraint in death, it raises questions about whether it has any morality left at all. What does it say about our culture when cruelty is passed off as entertainment? What does it say about us if we continue to accept it? These are the questions now facing Hollywood, and their answers are not flattering. So we must ask, has SNL reached the point of no return? Have they finally exposed themselves for what they truly are? They no longer function as comedians, satirists, or clever commentators. They act as attack dogs, dressed up with laugh tracks and applause signs. If that's the reality, then maybe this moment will be remembered not only as Charlie Kirk's defining cultural moment, but also as the point where audiences gave up on SNL altogether. A once great institution, now reduced to cruelty, propaganda, and irrelevance. Their legacy will not be laughter, but shame. And beyond SNL, this moment is a mirror reflecting Hollywood's entire collapse. The same industry figures who constantly preach about compassion, unity, and empathy are the first to mock the dead and smear their opponents. Everyone can see it now. The laughter isn't real anymore. It's just propaganda wrapped in a punchline. Ironically, the cruelty they thought would make them look edgy has made them look pathetic. Their mask is gone. The backlash proves audiences are tired of being sneered at and treated like the punchline. And this time, the anger feels strong enough to create real change. Maybe this is the breaking point. Maybe this is when viewers finally decide enough is enough. If comedy has no line, no decency, no humanity, then why keep tuning in at all? That's the question echoing across living rooms right now. And it's why the outrage over SNL's planned sketch isn't dying down. It's growing, because this is about more than politics. It's about dignity, it's about respect, it's about drawing the line at basic humanity. Drop your thoughts below, let me know where you stand. And if you're tired of the hypocrisy, hit like, share, and subscribe.